Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Yes and No podcast. This is our last episode of the second season. I'm your host, Arda, and this is my good friend, Matt.
Hi, guys. Welcome to our new episode and the last of the second season. Thank you for following us, by the way. It's been a ride, so thank you. Thank you very much.
Great.
Can we hear the sound?
This is your favorite topic today.
Is it my favorite topic?
I think so.
It feels like every topic that we're talking about is our favorite topics. Make sense?
Yes.
So for people listening and not watching what we're doing, we're having those beautiful tinfoil
Custom made.
One is more Turkish, the other one is more French beret.
This is more like, I feel like a wizard.
Yeah, you feel like a wizard. Exactly.
What is that thing on top of your head?
Dude, it's to, it's like an antenna, just like to dissipate the flux of the energy and the mics and, everything that are trying to control our brain.
So people wearing these so they don't get like mind control or something?
Exactly,
like
that's
that?
what it is, dude. Yeah. Tinfoil light protects you from
sunlight.
Not sunlight, yeah, obviously.
Protects you from sunlight. That's the truth.
Yeah. And from magnetic energy sent by the government to read your mind. Because they cannot do that on the phone, apparently.
I think government does a lot of things through the satellites. Like I feel like there are so many satellites out there that you can do a bunch of things.
Like what?
You can do laser beams, I guess. You can control the weather.
Yeah.
Right? Can you?
Exactly.
Do you think they can control the weather?
Okay, guys. So for people that just joining, we are talking about conspiracy theory today. That's the topic. If you didn't get the hint, that's what we're talking about. All right?
Today is going to be all about conspiracy theories.
I'm going to take my hat off because otherwise, I will not be able to process the information coming from the government.
Okay. I'm going to keep it for a while.
Okay, keep it. I'm sweaty balls now. Yeah. So no, basically for real, my father was dropping, not as a commercial pilot, but he was dropping with small planes, sodium chloride in the clouds in order to make them rain, in order to avoid hail coming down and then destroying crops, basically. So that's something that actually people were doing for the government, changing some part of the weather. So there's a truth to that. But what is interesting is like a lot of people think it's like chemtrail.
But I didn't heard that you can do rain.
Yes, you can make it rain.
You can do rain? What chemicals do you use again?
Sodium chloride.
Sodium chloride? Okay.
Sodium chloride.
Why they don't do it in Los Angeles?
Because it's not about make it rain, as you're saying. The idea is when you have like a storm coming up. So first of all, there should be storms in Los Angeles. It's not like you're creating clouds from thin air and then you make it rain.
Oh, I see.
It's just like there's like those clouds and they might be a threat for crops and stuff like that on the floor. So you just want that cloud to rain down instead of breaking into ice and then destroying the shit underneath. So yeah, they were using it. I think I saw recently that it was kind of fucked up because you were putting chemicals also in the
ecosystem,
in the atmosphere. So I don't think it's good either. And then in terms of the effect, not really. But I think this is also one of the biggest theory, about this idea that, the government like use the big planes, with the chemtrails. That's what they're saying, where basically they put like chemicals behind the commercial planes in order to rain down on population, in order to control the population. So it's not just even the weather, to controlling the weather and the population at the same time. And I think it really started because of that, because of this small thing that some people doing weather casting and stuff like that.
Yeah,
all right, aliens. So I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite conspiracy theory?
My favorite?
Yeah.
I mean, the first one came into my mind was the Elvis is not dead.
Really?
And also the fake moon landing one. I think those two are like interesting that it still exists, Yeah,
it's like the earth is flat too. But what do you think like people are still thinking that like 20 years later? 50 years later?
I think it's because of trust issues like towards the authorities and the government. I remember watching the documentary about flat earthers and like how they're getting together, what they're talking about. And they are mainly focused on the current knowledge is not true. And they're trying to debunk it. But one of the common theme, one of the place that they keep going is like, how do you know the government is telling you the truth? Like these people can be organized. These are like scientists planning to create a facade and manipulate. So, like there's always this issue of trust towards the institutions, the academia, government. And especially when it comes to things like moon landing and flat earthers, maybe all conspiracy theories have a little bit of mistrust
in governments.
In governments.
But why don't you think that? Because like that's true. Like I think we're going to mention some of those that are basically trying to debunk in some way some reality that we're all living in, and they are like putting that in perspective. But like I think it's interesting. Why do you think people choose to be like, okay, the government is lying at the end of the day? Because sure, you know, in terms of policies and all that, I can understand. But going into this idea even further away, you're just reflecting on not just the government, but even like scientists or people that work there. It's not like a group of small people.
I think it's sometimes like they realize something, they come up with this alternative option. And like, for example, the moon landing. Like people make it really hard, I guess, to go just like have that technology to go to moon. But then they also look at it like, oh, there was this Cold War between Russia and US, and they were trying to beat each other with space technologies, and Russia was like leading the game. So they need to do something so radical to prove that America is better than Russia, which they created this facade that they went to and they did moon landing. So people start looking at it, right? They have the hypothesis, let's say. Now they're trying to prove it. But they're dismissing, on the other hand, there are like so many other evidence that you can look at. And also, like, they don't look at it like all of these people who worked in these projects, like all the scientists, they see them as government puppets, or all of those were classified anyway. So there's no whistleblowers. Nobody told what's the truth behind it. So again, there's like a trust issue, right?
Okay, but at the end of the day, that doesn't change your life on a daily basis. But do you think it's a reflection of people mistrusting their government in terms of the action of the government on the daily basis? Because like, okay, sure, it's something, a propaganda to say that we went to the moon in order to prove to USSR that the US is the best. Great. But at the end of the day, like, why are people distrusting that? Like, what does that change them in their daily life, you know?
For some people, some information is enough. And then they're like, okay, this is like, I know you want to bring up the Egyptian theory. Do you want to talk about that? Because I think that one has a different motives than just trust.
But that's the thing. And this is what I'm going to relate it to it. So yeah, one of my favorite conspiracy theories from the moment, and you can see a lot of videos made with AI on Instagram about it, is the fact that the pyramids in Egypt were not built by humans. So it used to be like alien at one point, and now
it's still some people think alien.
Yeah, still people think that. Or it's been built by giants. So you can see a lot of videos where you have like giants really crappy made on AI software that putting rocks straight up on the pyramids. Yeah. And I think it's fascinating because there's a lot of people who are saying like, yeah, there's new evidence showing that they found a bone somewhere of this guy that might be giant. So maybe they got help from giants. No, maybe not alien, but giants that helped real people back then to put the pyramids together. And I think it's such an interesting thing is that, okay, we're coming from the alien theory because we say, oh, it's something else because there's almost something religious about it. But now it's not even that. It's just like big humans that never really existed, and they're helping those tiny normal people to put rocks all together. And I think it's interesting in that sense where, okay, I understand the moon landing, the political aspect to it, but for this, I don't understand.
I do understand.
Okay.
I can tell you exactly why.
Okay, go ahead.
Because they're Egyptians, dude. They're Muslims. Like how they have the technology to do all of that shit. Like it's not possible for those peasants to figure that out.
But that's
you know
the
what
thing.
I mean? Because like think about the Western civilization in like 1600s, 1700s, when there is the racism a little bit like starting in the sense of like skin tone. And like you look at like African like tribes and they're like, these are like not developed individuals. Mm-hmm. Like they don't have the civilization, you know, like, and there were even like showcases of like showing them to people almost like zoo animals, right?
Yeah.
And that can easily go to, you know, a cultural perspective of like those cultures are not really advanced as our civilization, because back then they were kind of inventing a lot of technologies too. There were like these big, you know, scientific developments happening in Western philosophy and science. Great. But it's somehow that historical evidence of actually those people did a lot of science too. They did a lot of astronomy. Yeah. They did a lot of like math, physics. Like there's a lot of evidence, I believe, back then even existed. But somehow it's kind of like a meme that like spread it that, oh, they can't do such architectural things. So it must be some other civilization like aliens or some kind of, yeah.
So for you, it's racism. That's it.
I mean,
if
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, for me, I was not, I mean, sure, there's this part, I agree. But I think there is also in this idea of all this conspiracy in general, there's a rejection of science.
Yeah.
Because that means like, yeah, people back then, it was so long ago, like they didn't have the science or the knowledge to put that all together. We're not even talking about like people that has different type of colors of skin and things like that. Like humans were not able to do anything because in Western countries, we couldn't do it. So probably they couldn't do it either. And I think that's the idea of most of the conspiracies and the flat earth also is this idea that we reject science. Like even science is a conspiracy in itself for those people. It's like, okay, something is not right. It's hidden and that it's impossible for X reason. And basically most of the people, they're coming up with their assessment, their theory that are not based on science either, but they don't want to listen of some kind of the truth at the same time. But don't you think it's the same idea about trusting? So it's not about government, but there's something higher and even like scientists and all that are basically, you know.
I mean, trust through ignorance in some sense. Like they don't get it. They don't really understand it because it needs time, energy. You need to like kind of study what is at least even like a basic level understanding it. And once they feel like, okay, like this is not something that I'm going to understand or just want to spend my time and energy to figure it out, I'm not going to trust these guys anyways. That's where the trust kicks in. So I'm going to go with the best explanation that gives me comfort.
But okay.
And flat earthers are like a little bit, you know, like I think the background of that is Bible.
Really?
Like it.
The firmament,
isn't it? Like it because back in the days, people thought the Earth was flat, and now through I think Galileo, starting from Galileo and forward, slowly science started to came up with certain developments to actually recognize that it's round and turning around sun. So that those foundational like the knowledge was gone. And I think that can really hard for a lot of people to accept. Still in the 90s, I know people rejected dinosaurs. And I believe there are still some people like, they're like, no, they were not dinosaurs. You know, the earth is like 6,000 years old. I had a friend who told me that God put the bones underground to test us. You know what I mean?
What?
That like there was, you know, dinosaurs, but they never existed. He just put it there. So we dig it. So we reject his word, like Bible, the Quran, all of those. Like it was his word. He already said it there. It's like, no, 6,000 years. I created this. And cannot be dinosaurs and stuff. So I think that took a long time for many people to be like, okay, like maybe there are dinosaurs. And I still believe some people don't believe that there were dinosaurs. They still point out, oh, the dinosaur bones in museums, those are not real. Those are like plastic. Or they made it. They don't put it there. And even that's true, that's like a front. Of course, maybe like I can see why they don't put the exact same bone there.
Uh-huh.
And then they also say, well, you see this whole dinosaur. It's not all of them are the bones. They just have like, I don't know, a few bones.
Yeah.
And then the rest, like how did they figure out the rest? You know, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that shows me that they don't really want to look into the scientific process of how these things are. Because it's like solving a puzzle. Like you have some pieces, and then through that, you kind of make, at the end of the day, an assumption, but an educated assumption.
Because you know why? Dinosaurs are living among us still.
Still?
Yeah, of course. And we're eating those motherfuckers most of the days, during the week at least, for people. Yeah.
What do you mean?
We are eating dinosaurs, dude. Are you listening to me or what?
How?
Chicken.
What's happening there? Chicken? Oh, that's true.
Chicken are the real descendants of the fucking dinosaurs. And I think that's what it is. Like, go and ask people, be like, okay, you see this massive dinosaur? Well, we still got the dinosaur today. It's called the chicken. And they're going to be like, yeah, that's bullshit, you know? But actually, that's how, you know, the scientist process goes. It's like, okay, we found this part of the dinosaur bone, this other part. And if we look at what is the closest thing that is today, a chicken, we can make an assumption about the rest of the shape of the dinosaur.
And for some dinosaurs, I bet they found like different parts of the animal in different places too. There are like collected similar bones appearing around the world, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I agree. But it's like, there's something that I always thought about was like, okay, obviously we learn something in school, and if you got an education, you know those things, you know about evolution, you know about the scientific process that you're mentioning about. But it feels that at one point I was like, okay, how can we convince those people that, okay, what they believe is bullshit? It's insane to even say that. What was funny is like a few weeks ago, there was this group of an organization about flat earther that got paid to go to Antarctica. All right.
Okay.
So they've been to Antarctica. Someone paid their flight and all that. So they went to visit Antarctica. And because over there it's summertime, because it's the South Pole, right? They got to witness the fact that the sun never set. Meaning the sun just goes up the horizon and then goes up again and then goes up the horizon and then goes up again. Dismantling this idea, the sun is a moving part around the flat earth. Basically, it has to be staying somewhere and then something turn around it, which is us. And there was a lot of people that were like, okay, like now I cannot rebut this idea that, the earth is not flat. I agree. But it's crazy that we're in the 21st century, that we have so much knowledge, so much videos, so much content that we're seeing all the time, but you still need to prove physical stuff to people in their brain, being like, look at that, all right? It's this reason, and look, it's real.
But then there are like things like simulation theory, right? Like that to me, I think a misunderstood the hypothesis or theory that people just like took it next level. Because I think there's some truth into that conspiracy theory, or like the reality is simulated, right? But they think it like Descartes has this like evil deceiver character, that what if like there's this like a demon or evil behind like creating this reality and then kind of in front of us. So it's basically, he was almost talking about that simulation theory, right? And that's where people brought it, in the sense of like, none of this is real. It's just like computer generated, like there's something behind it. Either
like the Matrix,
a super AI or a machine or an entity or like aliens or us from future, like something, right? I know nobody can prove none of those things at this point, all of those things. But if you talk about the simulation aspect of it, I think there are like some interesting stuff there. Like in like physics, how light works, we have a perception of a color. or like objects and stuff. And I can see that they may not be like exactly how we're seeing them. It might be a little bit of a different existence of itself. And then our brain is simulating something. Like all of those things are fine. So in that sense, you can say like reality is simulated, like, but I don't understand why people are carrying it so far away and say like, actually, our consciousness is creating this reality. It's not existed at all. Like if you touch this thing, it's not there. It's not there. Like that part, I'm like, what? I don't get that part. It's just too far. You're going too far. I think people get excited sometimes and then they just bring it next level.
But it's interesting because we're mentioning about this idea of, political government that are controlling us or aspects of us life. You can see a lot of politicians nowadays are actually talking like that too. Like, there's these things that is called alternative facts. That's what Trump came out with, this idea of like, you think this is real, but I'm telling you, this is what I think is real. And they're basically putting that in the language of also politicians. We're in this era of past truth, meaning like you can invent and nobody gives a shit anymore. There's no fact checking about anything. When Trump came during the election saying like, oh, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, everybody knows it's bullshit. But he still said it. And he didn't reflect on it saying like, oh yeah, maybe I was wrong. No, it's just there. He just put it out there. And you got to have some people that are believing that. And what is interesting for me is this idea of all those theories is somehow the government is hiding something. It's mistrust, but it's also meaning like the governments want to control a lot of people. Most of those ideas like, okay, the government wants to control those people. And actually, it's literally what they're doing. Like they're reinventing this reality by saying whatever the fuck they want. And I think this is where conspiracy theories nowadays is becoming really intriguing, is this idea of, okay, there is like this imagination from before, but also now you get like political, governmental people that are coming up with
figuring it out.
Bullshit.
They're figuring it out, yeah.
Like there was one conspiracy theory that I loved for the past few years, and we talked about aliens in one of our previous episodes. Go check it out. There's these conspiracy theories about aliens. So like when you're seeing UFOs or UAPs, sometimes in those videos, you'll see in the comments of those videos, you'll see people mentioning Project Blue Beam. And I was like, what the hell is Project Blue Beam? And there's like this small group of people, straight up conspiracy theory, that is saying that we're going to see alien invasions soon. But those are not going to be real aliens. Those are going to be laser from Earth projected in the sky, making you think of us that the aliens are coming or invading. And then at that point, the government is going to take control of every population.
That's
like martial law and stuff like that. And I think
that's a good one.
It's crazy. Like, let's say you really have aliens coming up. Like those people are going to be like, it's a way for the government to control our liberties, and freedom. And it's
but you know what I also heard about
No.
that? Similar, but a little different.
Uh-huh.
So when we didn't have all of these borders already drawn and we have all of these countries, right? There's nowhere to invade. Like, not like Alexander or Genghis Khan, like they had these lands that they want to conquer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere is taken now. So now what we see is like governments are kind of trying to either control a territory or like pushing each other. There is no, like there are some unities we are seeing, like European Union, United States, I guess, kind of can be considered, but not much. Mm-hmm. So the theory goes like, we don't have a common enemy. Like we are just each other's enemy, but we need a common enemy. And that's going to be aliens. So they are going to create this like sense of like, there are like these extraterrestrial beings watching us, might want a threat for our world.
From humankind, yeah.
Yes. So we need to get together. And that's also what they want. They want a world government, that governments come together and be one. And so we can trade together. But then when they have that, people think that they may have full control, then it might be even worse. But that's what I think that alien thing also claiming that this is going to be a world government. And that's the common enemy, UFOs.
Okay. Like Illuminati type of things. Like those small group of people at the top that knows all of that and they want to control us. This idea. It feels also there's this caste of people that are even higher than the governments, higher than the presidents of countries, that have this agenda for the whole humanity in some way,
The hidden hand conspiracy theory. It's like there are like few people controlling the world already. Like 5 people.
Do you have the name?
We don't
Breaking
know.
News,
They're
guys.
hidden.
Oh gosh. Yeah, breaking news in
That's
the podcast.
That's the conspiracy theory.
But like, what are they doing then?
Well, they control all the banks, companies, governments, all the resources in the world, and they make decisions of how things go.
But what is the intention of that?
For
us to be slaves?
Yeah, I mean, there are like power and control. They rule the world already.
But isn't it true? Like
the
small
hidden
people.
Hand?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at inauguration of Trump, there was literally billionaires before world leaders behind him. There was like his family, and then there's like billionaires, and then there's the guests from other countries, right? Other world leaders. And you had like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. You have the guy from Google. Like, are those not the 5 that we're mentioning about? Because at the end of the day, we mentioned about it in the plutocracy episode. It's still like people with financial privilege that are influencing politics on a daily basis and indirectly people, no?
Yeah. I agree. I think it comes to that. But I think this is kind of like extreme version of it. That's like just like few people. But I think it's a little bit more than just Bezos, Elon Musk. I definitely agree that they have huge influence right now, especially in US. But I don't know who are those small group of people when it comes to like, if you include Russia, China, European Union. I'm not even talking about Middle East.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of anti-Semitism behind it too. There's George Soros that has been talking about so many times on far right, conservative media. A Jewish guy that has money that basically would control everything.
Yeah,
that is completely crazy. But what is fucked up for me is it feels like most of the conspiracy theories, turn around this idea of small group of people control things, but then they go to this storytelling idea that it's some magical voodoo group organization that control like people that you don't see their faces, and they have like this agenda for the whole world. Whereas actually, if they look at their politicians, some of them are doing that. Billionaires nowadays are actually doing exactly that. They're passing laws in order to make their company profitable over our benefits at the end of the day. So there's almost this idea. And also there's something strange. And that's the point that I don't get. It's those conservative persona or media that are pushing those theories. I never heard really about leftist or centrist ideology that would goes into conspiracy theories completely. Most of the time, it's always goes a little bit more on the right side. Like, sure, I listened to some anarchists recently that are saying like, oh, this or that. Okay, the government is trying to fuck us over. There's some part that is real though, but I understand it. But most of the time, the more extreme ones are coming from the far right. And I think that's what I don't understand. Why then? Well, what is their goal?
I do. It's religion. I think religion by essence, like when it comes to epistemology, it's like similar. Overall, I think religion can give you a moral compass. It can give you comfort, like psychological comfort, like knowing that you're not alone, knowing that when you die, it's not going to end. All the loved one is waiting for you. When you're living, if you practice love and compassion, that's a good thing. Like there are like all of these like sense of community, like all of these things are good, but it's bundled with certain claims and assumptions about reality, how the world is created. Or like if you pray, if it's happened, like you can even go to manifestation with that. But anyways, but there are like, it's like hell, heaven, demons, angels, soul, spirit, ghosts. Like there are like so many different things going hand to hand, believing that, or the miracles that prophets did, resurrection, or splitting the sea. Like those things go hand to hand with all of those things. And I think it's the case that when you feel a certain comfort with an idea, like emotional, and like it just like creates this sense of like, sometimes the brain justifies it, whatever other things attached to it.
Yeah.
Like flat earth
bias.
or yeah. And I think some people leans to that or they go with it.
But do you think it's a question of a way to control their life at that point? Being like, okay, if there's something that wants to take out my freedom of this or freedom of that I want to be myself, I want to do and express myself how I am. This is a way for them, to be included in this conspiracy in order to make them think like they have control over it. Like they understand it, so they can control it.
Yeah, I think it's also a way of feeling safe. Like they feel safe with those ideas and feel comfortable.
But what is crazy is like there's this close to understand that it's basically the system that we are in that creates these ideas. And there's some part of it that are truth, but it's also always a good idea to reflect on your belief in general. Because like you might be wrong. What is crazy, and I think we're in this new era in general, that people are trying to close themselves in their way of thinking and they don't want to expand that. Because it's easier, as you were saying, maybe it's comfortable. But a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's a question of common sense. Like, I know that, so I know this. So it's normal to be like that. But I really think that we need to step back a little bit and look for ourselves about what is right, what is wrong, and why sometimes we say this is wrong, but actually it might be right, and vice versa. And I think a lot of people are not doing that. And I think the more we're going this new era's alternative facts, the more we're going to be separating each other from each other's. And I think that's the problem that we are resolving in it.
Yeah, I think it's not just like being smart or understanding or knowing a lot of things. Like it's not just ignorance. I think there's a lot of emotional aspect to it. That's why I always go there. Like these people who believe in certain supernatural things, that to me is like not the reality. I always feel like there has to be some emotional attachment to that. Like I don't think it's just intellectual. It's just there is more that they're experiencing that I'm not experiencing. So I just try to see it that way, because otherwise it just goes like, are you dumb?
I agree. Like, and I think it's this idea, as you were saying, that we need to acknowledge sometimes that people, it's not about being dumb. It's easy for anything to say, oh, you should do that, or you should trust this, or you should listen to that. And that's it. That's the truth. I think when people are coming up with something different, we need to acknowledge that sometimes it's something coming from an emotion. And I think from agreeing on, okay, this is emotional. Why? What does that reflect about that on that person? Maybe we can start to learn about each other and be more
understanding, and we can live together. Yeah,
exactly.
And generally that's the goal, right? I mean, I can 100% live with religious people. And I think we can live in a world that there's like non-believers and believers. But as long as you don't push your doctrine into someone else, like it's fine. Like I agree. That's, I hope, will be the future. We'll see.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
Yeah. What do you think, guys? Do you have like a best conspiracy? Put it in the comment. That would be great. And also, do you think we'll see more and more conspiracy, or less or less? Anyway, this was our last episode for this season of the Yes and No podcast. Thank you for following us. It's been a great second season. We had so many things. You can check it out on YouTube and on Spotify, obviously. You can find us everywhere on social media at a Yes and No podcast. We're having a Blue Sky account now. You can follow us there. We're trying to separate ourselves from X, Facebook, and and all of that.
Instagram.
You can still find us on Instagram and TikTok, obviously.
Yes, for now.
We'll try to push away those platforms too. Thank you for everything. My name is Matt, one of your guests, and
my name is Arda. Thanks, guys. Thanks for following us.
Thank you, and see you next season. Bye.
Hello. Welcome to Yes and No podcast. This is our last episode of the second season, and I fucked it up now because I hit my camera.
Yeah. Sorry for party rocking.
I kind of like this look. I can go out like this.
You can go out like this, dude. Yeah.
I think in Los Angeles, nobody would mind.
Maybe. I think it's kind of normal. People are like that all the time. Sodium chloride. My father used to, when he was a student, becoming a pilot, was to working for the... Fuck.
I think you are thinking too much.
No, okay. No, it's good. Okay, so basically my father used to pilot small planes where they can drop chloride. Fuck, what was the name I just said? Sodium chloride. Gosh. All right. So.
Well, I guess that's a
wrap.
That's true. That was a true conspiracy theory. How about the giants in Egypt? Have you heard that
one? I didn't even hear what you said. What?
How about the giants in Egypt? Have you heard that
one? Oh my God. How to be serious, dude. Okay.
That's I think since you took out the aluminum foil hat, look how you're behaving. I think they're controlling.
I'm not controlling anything anymore, dude. What the hell?
A lot of people think that we can control like earthquakes, for example. There were people in Turkey or other places in the world probably thinking government what are you doing?
Listening to you, come on.
Yeah, but are we recording or?
Yeah, I'm gonna focus on you. That's it. The fuck did I do? I heard a sound too. I'm sorry, dude.
We can do live if you want.
No, I'm breaking down, I think. That's it. My brain is like, fuck that shit.
Overwhelmed. Let's start from the beginning.